So that's right, I finally started to collect the Kinks albums, and I thought I'd start reviewing them here on my channel as I go as well. So, just like always, let's start from the start. So hello and yes, welcome back to another review, guys. Pretty weird, I'm doing 2 album reviews back to back. Normally it's like 3 or 4 videos between album reviews. I just reviewed Paul McCartney's new album, Egypt Station. And now we're going to go way back in time and talk about the first album from the Kinks, simply titled Kinks. So yeah, a lot of people here on this channel have asked me what my opinion of the Kinks are. I've name dropped them a couple times. I've never actually done a video on them before. This is my first video with the Kinks in the title. I like the Kinks. I know I like them. I've got their greatest hits on CD and vinyl. I've never taken the time to get into their albums, really. Until recently. I haven't advertised that at all here on YouTube, here on my channel. Only a few people know that I've started to get their albums. I've got their first 2 albums now, and then I've got Sleepwalker from the 70s, you know, which I picked up some point when I was out digging. So I'm kind of going in chronological order, taking it slow. I'm listening to each one, you know, really digesting each album, really trying to get to know them. But I haven't announced it here on the channel because I thought, you know, I'm just going to drop my first review like that, boom. Then I'll do one for their second album, Kinda Kinks, probably in a few weeks, maybe a bit more than that. But, you know, I'm going to drop them, you know, occasionally as I go, as I collect them. So I'm collecting the Kinks albums in order and kind of reviewing them in order as I get them. So yeah, this is new for me. I know there's a lot of Kinks fans out there. I'm still new to the Kinks. I'm, you know, acknowledge that when you start this review, guys. I don't know loads about the Kinks. And of course, this is all opinion related. There's going to be some songs on here which I like more than other people. Songs which I don't like as much as other people. So just take this review with a grain of salt, because I'm still very fresh on the Kinks. I just wanted to talk about them. So here we go, I'm going to talk about them. So we're going to talk about their first album, their debut today. So in this album review, I'm going to do the usual. I'm going to give you a bit of information on the album. We're going to go over each track individually, mark each track individually out of 10. I'll show you my copy of the vinyl record. We mark the artwork for this album out of 10. We'll add all those scores up, divide it by the total number of scores given, which is 14 songs plus the 15th mark for the artwork. So we'll divide it by 15, which will give us an overall marking for this album out of 10. The album ranking board is still not back, guys. I really don't know when it's going to be back, because I haven't found a software on my Apple Mac that does anything remotely similar to what I had on my last computer for the album ranking board. But anyway, let's not jabber anymore, because there's 14 songs. Let's get on with this. So the Kinks, this is their first album, obviously. Released on the 2nd of October 1964. It hit number 3 in the UK. Did not chart in America, unfortunately. Generally not that much information out there about the band, you know, it was, or about this album. The band formed, of course, with the Ray and Dave Davies formed it, of course, Adam, Pete and Mick as well. The first album, this one, had a lot of mixture of songs. It had some originals, and then it had some covers. There's kind of a mixture. They kind of go back and forth a lot, as every band did on their first album. You know, Stones, The Who, The Beatles, they all done it on their first album. They all covered a lot. And every band, even like these classic artists like David Bowie, you know, even David Bowie's second album feels more like his first. And it's the same with a band like Genesis as well as David Bowie, where their second album actually feels more like an album from them and their discography as we know it today, whereas their first albums all feel very generic rock and roll stuff. The Kinks also kind of do this on this album a bit. This one here sounds very safe, like a very safe first 60s band album. But I like it nevertheless. So let's get started. So the opening track is a Chuck Berry cover. Who better to cover on an opening song than Chuck Berry? So we get Beautiful Delilah on there. That's the song they choose to cover from him. Although there is another Chuck Berry song on here, but we'll get to that one. And it's a good opener. It has a good tone to the album. You know, very rock and roll. Quite good vocals. They do a lot of this kind of... it almost sounds like he's doing a Lulu impression, a male Lulu, on this song, which is cool. The guitar solo is really messy on this one, though. And I know that they're a brand new band here, so it's hard to criticise them too much. But they prove on this album they can do good guitar solos, and this one's quite messy. But it's a simple, fun song. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. You guys have probably noticed that I go over songs a bit quick on this album review. It's because when it comes to rock and roll, I don't find there's loads to say. I enjoy the old 60s rock and roll music. I really do. You know, I love the Beatles and the Stones and the Who. But I can never dive into songs as much because there's not as much meat there. Not saying they're not as good. That's in no means an insult. But anyway, we get the first original piece by the Kinks here. So Mystifying, which has a really good guitar riff opening it. And the blending of vocals here is awesome. It's the first time we hear the blending of Randy Dave's vocals here, and they just sound fantastic. It's got good lyrics for new songwriters. I've got a lot of time, a lot of respect for this song. I'm going to give this track 7 out of 10. Then we move on to a track called Just Can't Go to Sleep, which is also another original song. And this is probably my least favourite original song on here that they do. It's a very simple rock and roll song. Again, you know, a lot of the songs on here are, a lot of their first songs are, as every band was back then. But this one just feels like they've toned it down, considering So Mystifying was actually kind of cool, a little bit unique. You were already getting that Kinks sound. This one kind of dials it back a bit. I love the slower parts of the song. When that comes, but that comes later on in the song. Until then, you are pretty much just getting through this song. It's still good. It's good. It's just very forgettable on the album, I think, and easily their weakest one on this particular album. But I'm still going to give it a 6. I still like it. It's by no means a bad song. Then we got Long Tall Shorty, which of course is another cover. Cool guitar start to it. I really like that. Nice rocking foot tapping song. Decent vocals. First time we hear the harmonica really on this song. Harmonica has a big presence on some of the other songs that come later on this album. It's okay. It's okay. It's not bad. I don't love it. I'm going to give this song a 6 out of 10 as well. And then we get a track called I Took My Baby Home, which is another original and a really good song. It's a nice foot tapper again. Reminds me a lot of a Beach Boys sound almost, which is weird. But I really like that still. Has a very catchy chorus, and the harmonica really comes in with a presence on this song and just sounds fantastic. In terms of rock and roll stuff, this song really hits the nail on the head for me. It's got a great rhythm to it, and the band all play off each other really well. The drums are great, the bass is great, the guitar works fantastic, but as I say, the harmonica, of course, stands out the most. I'm going to give this song an 8 out of 10. Then we got I'm a Lover Not a Fighter, which is another cover song, which is a very fast acoustic rock and roll song, which was kind of hard to do back then. Rock and roll stuff was all done on the electric guitar mostly. When you get a fast acoustic song, a lot of bands used to struggle doing songs like that. The Kinks do a decent job at it. With this one, it's very messy between the lead and backing vocals, this song. It's hard to sometimes tell, especially when they're in the chorus, who's lead and who's backing. The guitar solo saves it at the end, because this song probably would have got a negative mark, I'm not going to lie. That means below a 5. But the guitar solo saves it a bit, and yeah, the vocals just kind of ruin this song for me. They're a bit of a killer. So I'm going to give this song a 5 out of 10. And then we move on to the closing track of side 1, You Really Got Me, which not only is the most famous song off the album, but potentially their most famous song ever. Which is really weird, because a lot of these rock and roll bands done that. You know, The Who done it with My Generation on their first album as well. Weird. But I love that. It's great. So You Really Got Me Now is potentially the Kinks' most famous song ever. I'd probably say it is. I think I'm safe in saying that. So it's a classic song. It's a masterpiece. It's amazing. It's got this great guitar riff that opens it. You know you're in for an amazing time as soon as that guitar riff hits. The vocals are beyond great. Love the piano in the background, which kind of comes in quietly and just builds in. It's fantastic. Also, I love the bleed into the awesome guitar solo. You can tell that the band is dying to get there almost, because I know it's good. Just everything about this song works. There are no points, like, there are a lot of the songs that we've heard so far, I'm not going to lie, I was kind of like, oh, okay, it's over. Whoop-de-doo. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This song, I'm always sad when it ends. It's like, that was so good, let's play it again. I love it that much. It's a classic. I've grown up with this song. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10, because I can't find any faults in it. It's great. There's a bit of biasness there, I'll admit, because I've grown up with this song. I've listened to it all my life. But it is that good. Lights coming in. Fantastic. So we're moving on to side 2 now. Where we got a song called Cadillac by Bo Diddley, of course, originally. So another cover, opening it up. Like that, we're keeping with the covers opening sides. It's a cool sounding guitar at the start, and the vocals are good, but the vocals are really ruined by the production on this song. It's really, really weird. I think the vocals are good anyway. I heard the remastered version on Spotify, and the vocals sounded better on there. But with this original pressing of the album, with the original production and the mixing of the song, the vocals, it sounds like he's at the back of a room singing, and the band's at the front where the mics are. And it's so hard to hear. It's such an odd thing to do, because it really ruins the song, if I'm being honest. I'm going to give this song a 5 out of 10. Then we got Bald Headed Woman, which is a slower song, which is much needed at this point on the album. There is no doubt. Because so far it's all been rock and roll, which is fine. But I like a bit of variety on an album. So this song comes in, and it's very much needed. Really good vocals on this one. I love that they bring back the piano from You Really Got Me, where it kind of builds slowly in the background. I love that. It sounds fantastic. And I like how the song has fast segments in it as well. I'm going to give this song a 7 out of 10. This is a good song. Then we got another original piece, and it's an instrumental, which is cool. Nice to see the Kinks trying an instrumental song. And I've got to say, as far as instrumentals go, this is a good one. Why? Because it actually does what instrumentals are meant to do. It changes, it adapts, it keeps your attention without happening to rely on vocals and lyrics. It does a lot of cool stuff. It's led by the harmonica again, which is great. The song gets faster and actually changes in different segments. My only complaint with it is it's a bit short. I actually wish there was more. I felt like there was more room there for the song to adapt and change, which is a shame. But overall, it was good. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. You know, I say I enjoyed it a lot, and yet I only give it a 6. Why do I do that? Well, I don't want to give instrumentals too high of a mark, because me personally, as much as I enjoy some instrumentals, I would always rather there be some singing. Then we got Too Much Monkey Business, which is the other Chuck Berry cover. And it's pretty much on the same level as the first one, Beautiful Delilah. You know, it's good. Vocal blending on this song's really good. Simple fun rock and roll song. But it has a really awesome guitar solo. I'm not going to lie, the guitar solo on this one's really good. Going to give this track 6 out of 10. And then we've got this one song on the album which I don't like. I've Been Driving on Bald Mountain. It is again another simple rock and roll song, but the effect on the vocals are awful here. It sounds kind of like Cadillac, where he's standing at the back of the room, but 10 times worse. This time it's like a hall. He's at the back of a hall. You can't hear him at all, nearly. The vocals here are pitiful. I mean, they're not pitiful, that's really harsh. I think the vocals were average at best here on this song to start with. And then with the effect on the top and the production, they're pitiful. Awful. It's just not enjoyable, this song for me. It's a pretty average song until you get to the vocals, and the song does nothing. It's just... So sorry to people who like that one, I just don't enjoy it. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. Then we got Stop Your Sobbing, which is another original, which is really nice in terms of vocal blending again. Very enjoyable chorus, very enjoyable. Again, this one also reminds me of I Took My Baby Home, that Beach Boy kind of sound, which you could tell that the Kinks were kind of adopting on these couple songs a bit. Has very nice guitar work on it again, really enjoyable. I'm going to give this song a 7 out of 10. And then we got to the closing track, finally. Got Love If You Want It, which is quite a long song for this album. I think it only comes in just shy of 5 minutes, which isn't that long really, but for this album it's quite long, because every song on here is about 2 minutes long. And I like it. It's pretty average again, but when it hits into these faster sections of the song, like there's a section in the middle that's faster, and then they kind of rock out again at the end. It's really fun. I like how they rock out at the end. It's really cool. It's like the relief that This is the end of the album. Let's go nuts. So I like that. I'm going to give this song a 7 out of 10 as well. Okay, so let's take a look at my copy of the vinyl record. This isn't a very first pressing, as you can tell by the writing at the top. And I'm trying to be fair on the artwork grading here because it's an old album. Gatefolds weren't common back then. Inner sleeves were not a thing back then. So I'm going to try and be fair to the artwork here. I really like this cover. I love these old British records where they had this laminated look to it as well. But yeah, great cover of the band. I apologise about the lighting. Yeah, really cool cover of the band. I like it a lot. Move on to the back. And of course, you've got your advertisements. We got on here some blues stuff. Tommy Dorsey. Yeah, it's very, very interesting stuff on here. And yeah, we got the track list in there as well. You can tell it's old. It's got the fold over corners. This is a stereo copy, I believe. And then here is the vinyl. Very old sleeve. God, seems like ages since I've held a very old record up on my channel. I'm normally showing newer stuff nowadays. So my copy here does have someone's name, unfortunately, just written on one side. But that's alright. I mean, all these old records nearly have names on them. But yeah, I'm going to give the artwork for this a 7 out of 10. It's a really nice album cover, actually. Nice photo of the band. And that's pretty much all I can judge it on, because that's what everyone was doing back then. So anyway, I've added up all 14 scores and then the 15th for the artwork. Divided it by 15. And the Kinks album is going to get out of 10 for me a 6.5. So yeah, it's a 6.5 for the Kinks debut album. There's a Kinks video, guys. Wow, never thought we'd see that day. So yeah, there's. I'm getting into the Kinks. I'm discovering them. I'm still learning. There's a very quick review of what I thought of their debut album. I've heard it about 6, 7 times now since I got it. So I'm kind of at that level where I feel like I'm ready to talk about it. It's a good album. Very good debut album. Very, very... 6.5 might not seem like it's high enough for some people. For me, I think that's very good for a debut album, especially from a group from the 60s. And everything was kind of sounding the same for first albums. I think that's a very good first album. Very good. Really enjoyed it. And I know their music's only going to get better from here. So I'm very much looking forward to coming to you guys with their next album, Kinda Kinks. And then we're going to move even further on into their discography. But nevertheless, that is it for this video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it as always. Please hit the subscribe button, like the video, leave a message. And I will see you guys next time for another video. Bye-bye.